Welcome back to the Kosi Arsenal podcast. My name is Kosi. Welcome back to a brand new video. The Premier League is back, and as an Arsenal fan, I am not excited at all. And the problem is with injuries. Martin Odegaard is injured. Therefore, in this video, we're going to be discussing how do we deal with Martin Odegaard's absentia against Tottenham, against Atalanta, and also against Manchester City. Now, according to some of the news I've seen from inside Norway, they're saying that he could be missing about 3 to 4 weeks, and that could be around 7 games for Arsenal. Already, we have a difficult set of fixtures coming up. 3 away games in a row. Away at Spurs, away at Atalanta in the Champions League, and away at Manchester City. Whoever made this fixture list for Arsenal, you absolutely hate it. But recently on my last video, I asked you what should Arsenal do in order to replace Martin Odegaard, and a few people, intelligent ones, obviously went to the comment section and shared their thoughts. Among the I would say recurring thoughts and opinions was Martin Odegaard should be replaced by Alexander Zinchenko stepping into midfield. That was one of the things you people said. The other thing that I saw was Leandro Trossard coming into midfield, and then Gabriel Martinelli or Raheem Sterling playing out wide. That was another thing that I saw. It was a little bit recurring in my comments, and I thought that was sensible, actually. Now, there's a section of people who also believe this is the time for Nwaneri to get his chance and start performing at a high level for Arsenal. That is also another, school of thought, and I really respect whatever comments you people put in my comment section. Now, the one thing you actually didn't say that I was waiting for, and that's why I've done this video, is with Martin Odegaard, you can't replace him with one player at Arsenal right now. And if we were to replace him with one player, maybe that player could have been Fabio Vieira because he was signed to do that. Maybe that player could have been Mikel Merino. We never know, and we will never know probably what it feels like to have Mikel Merino fit and Martin Odegaard not fit. We'll find out if that scenario ever happens ever again. But with Martin Odegaard, I think the perfect answer to how do you replace him is this. Arsenal are going to have to replace Odegaard differently in every single game. So we're going to have to replace him according to the demands of a specific opponent. For example, I don't think Nwaneri would be a good fit for Arsenal against Manchester City. That would be a huge blunder. But I think Nwaneri against Atalanta, that is a game I would actually give him. And I know Atalanta will talk about them. They have that high press intensity as well. They're scary, especially when they're hunting for the ball. But I think Nwaneri against Atalanta, that would be a game I would give him. Would I play Nwaneri against Tottenham Hotspur? I mean, there's a question there to be answered. Let me know in the comment box below. Would you play Nwaneri against Atalanta? He's a good player. He's a very good young player. But you've got to choose the games that he plays in wisely. So let's get into it. Let's dive into the 3 games that we are playing in September, the 3 main games that we are playing in September, and how do we replace Martin Odegaard in each of those games, and why every other option has to be different according to specific games. Let's start off with the Tottenham Hotspur game. So usually this is how we would say it up. Of course, that back 4 or back 3, depending on what Mikel Arteta wants to do. Gabriel, obviously, in the team. Ricardo Calafiori or Julian Timber, as part of that back 4, regardless of, you understand, the trick. Now, of course, Partey, Rice, Odegaard as part of the midfield. And then up top, it would be Kai Havertz, then Leandro Trossard, who's been on form as compared to Gabriel Martinelli, and then Bukayo Saka. Now, the one thing I want to say as well to people is that the Arsenal team is not changing. The whole team is not changing. It's Martin Odegaard, and we are looking for a way of getting that creativity into the team. We are looking for a way of getting that leadership. It's going to be very difficult for us against Spurs because we are losing a leader in Declan Rice in midfield, and then obviously we are losing a leader in Martin Odegaard in midfield. But against Manchester City, Rice will be back. Against Atalanta, Rice will be available, so that leadership is going to come back, right? So what we are missing with Odegaard is creativity, work rate, leadership, and I think the mentality of a player who says never say never. Even when the 90 minutes is over, we look at the next 90 minutes. That is his mentality. And that is something you're not going to pick up from any other player. And that's why Alexander Zinchenko, although many people don't like him, he's going to be absolutely very, very key for us. But then the other thing that I've seen with Arsenal, especially without Martin Odegaard and Declan Rice, the left-hand side could actually become very important for us as compared to the right-hand side. Let me explain. So usually this is how we line up. Julian Timber on the left-hand side, usually, and then Ben White on the right-hand side, Odegaard on the right, and Saka on the right. And we have seen this. We have seen these connections there a lot of the time. Saka, Odegaard, and Ben White. That's symmetry a lot of the time, creating a lot of chances for us and winning games for us. Actually, I would say these three have come close twice to winning Arsenal the Premier League. That is how important they have been for us. That is how good they have been for us. Now, without Odegaard, this is dead. I don't think Kai Havertz comes into this team and gives us, that relationship between Saka and White. I don't think he comes and does that. I don't think Partey will do that. There's no question about that. I don't think Partey is going to do that. And Jorginho himself, I don't think Jorginho is going to come in and, give us that as well. So why this is a massive advantage for the players playing on the left-hand side is this. Julian Timber, or for say Ricardo Calafiore, Leandro Trossard, or Gabriel Martinelli, it will depend, and Alexander Zinchenko could actually form this, chemistry and help us win games as compared to the right-hand side without Martin Odegaard. This is where I see Arsenal turn to the left-hand side. I can see those partnerships, I can see those relationships, being created on the left-hand side rather than us trying to fix the right-hand side. I think everyone is thinking Mikel Arteta is going to try to fix the right-hand side. Not necessarily. He might not try to do that. He might actually try to achieve what we have been getting on the right-hand side by trying to shift energy to the left-hand side. But anyway, how do we set up without these two in the team? So Odegaard is out, right? He goes out, and Declan Rice goes out as well. For a team that is Spurs, what do we know about them? Spurs want to press. Spurs play a high line, and Spurs want to they want to get very, very, very little PPDs in a game. They want to press you. They want to win the ball back before you pass, before you get out. So that means that if Arsenal are going to replace Odegaard, what we are going to need is players that can progress the ball comfortably, but also players that are very, very comfortable on the ball. And that is why in this game, without Declan Rice and without Odegaard, I think Jorginho is going to be a natural, selection for Mikel Arteta, Jorginho and Partey. And the reason for that is Jorginho is a natural ball progressor, and he's a little bit press resistant. So what I mean here is that he will be very, very useful in making sure that Arsenal keep the ball. We will be pressed. I think the likes of Archie Gray, Bissouma, Rodrigo Bentancur, Maddison. I think Ange Postecoglou's team is so fond of pressing high up the pitch and pressing effectively. So Jorginho, with his ability and skill set, you expect him to be in that midfield as a controller, but also a player that you can give the ball in order for him to keep it. Of course, that means that we replace Declan Rice with Jorginho. Now, for me, in terms of replacing Martin Odegaard, there are two options here. One is Kai Havertz. Now, with Kai Havertz, the reason as to why I would go with him is because there is a possibility that Gabriel Jesus will actually come back, right? So if Gabriel Jesus comes back, you can drop Kai Havertz in the 10. And the reason as to why I would love to drop Kai Havertz in the 10, again, what do we know about Kai Havertz? What is he good at? He's good at pressing, but he's also very good at those linkages, those passes that either are linking a player in attack, right? or safe passes that are just keeping the ball, right? So that's why I think Kai Havertz will drop in midfield, and I think Mikel Arteta is actually going to do it. But the other way, we might see it, and this is very, very possible. Again, is Thomas Partey in that single pivot, Jorginho out, Kai Havertz comes in to replace Martin Odegaard on this right-hand side. I'm going to explain why that would actually work for me in my sense. And then Trossard dropping into this position here. He's played there for Belgium before. He's also played there for Brighton before. And then Raheem Sterling, who I don't have here, so I'm going to use Gabriel Martinelli. Raheem Sterling or Gabriel Martinelli come in to, to complete the team. Now, this actually creates a big shift. This really, really creates a big shift in the team. Trossard has already dropped into midfield. Kai Havertz has dropped into midfield. And Gabriel Jesus is back in the team. That creates a little bit of, I would say too many changes, but necessary changes. So for me, against Spurs, I would love to see this kind of team. And the reason that's why I would love to see this kind of team is this. Trossard is willing to come back and track back. Kai Havertz is willing to come back and track back. Saka is willing to come back and track back. Jesus, no question, is willing to come back and track back. And therefore is Gabriel Martinelli. But because Spurs play a high line, we might find our players, kind of, sucked in like this, right? So we might find them sucked in like this. And why this is an advantage for us, in my opinion, actually, rather than a disadvantage, is if we have, let's use this, right? So if we have Spurs having to play with a high line, I like my color white. So if we have Spurs playing with a high line, maybe right here, I think we have enough players in this team to play this ball over this line, and then we have enough runners to exploit the space in behind. I think Gabriel Martinelli is a good runner. I think Saka is a good runner. I think Sterling is a magnificent runner. I also think Gabriel Jesus is a very good runner. And now, in terms of playing that pass, I think Partey can play that pass. Trossard can play that pass, and Kai Havertz can play that pass as well. But most importantly, Timber coming into midfield, he can play that pass. And if Jorginho plays, again, he can play that pass to expose Tottenham Hotspur. So the Tottenham Hotspur game for me, it really doesn't become very ugly. It only becomes ugly against Atalanta, and only becomes ugly against Man City. So what would be the changes against City and Atalanta? So with Atalanta, this is a team that you want to beat. This is a team that you expect to beat. You're going away from home, but it's one of the easy ones. Remember, you have Inter Milan, you have Sporting, you have PSG as well. Atalanta is one of the teams that you want to go pick up a win, maybe 2-1, maybe 2-0, maybe 1-0, but you want to pick up a win as much as possible. So the attack has to be lethal, so I would still go with Jesus, Martinelli, and Saka. No question about that. Kai Havertz into midfield. Trossard, in there, and Partey. I don't think I would make big changes. The only change I would make is Trossard out, and I don't think I have Ethan Nwaneri already, do I? No, I do not. I do not have Ethan Nwaneri. So, no, we don't. So let's get shot number 17, probably. Or, yeah, something like that. Do we have 17 already? Zinchenko? Yeah. So let's get shot number 37. And let's call this Ethan Nwaneri, right? So let's call him Ethan Nwaneri. So I think Ethan Nwaneri could actually come in the Atalanta game, and he would do well. Against Man City, it would be a very different question and a very different animal that you're approaching. Because against Man City, what you're thinking about is, how are we approaching a team that we have failed to beat for a long time? How are we approaching that team, right? And I would say, against City, last season's approach would be the approach I would use. Defensively solid, stay compact, stay intact, and don't let focus slide, right? So again, I think City we'll be looking to play out a 0-0. And then Atalanta and Spurs, we will respect them. We should respect them, but we should go with the motive at the back of our mind: stay clean, but win. Try to win the game. So this is where Mikel Arteta's money now has to work. He's got a new contract, but him spending millions and millions on his defense, this way it's got to work. If you've been spending hundreds of millions on your defense, that means you are ready to win the league with less goals conceded. So let us start seeing it work. Let us see how this defense goes through the next 3 fixtures without conceding more than 4 goals, because I believe Arsenal will score at least 5 goals in the next 3 fixtures. But what is important is, can our defense stand in? Can we keep a clean sheet against Spurs? Can we keep a clean sheet against Atalanta? Can we concede 1 against Manchester City or 2 against Manchester City? Something like that. Interesting conversations about how to replace Martin Odegaard. But for now, that's what I'm thinking.